What is up, YouTube? It's your boy The Walk 71. Replace Day with a 4, and I'm here with another AEW pay-per-view review for you all. This is AEW All Out. Now, this review is going to come late, as well as the NXT UK Takeover Cardiff review. I actually still got to record that one. I just recorded this one first because what's the word? I watched this show in its entirety first, and I just got finished watching it. Great show, by the way. Both were great shows. Great day to be a wrestling fan. But yeah, this show was very enjoyable. I liked All Out a lot. Actually, there was only like maybe one match I wasn't messing with, but overall, great show. Now we had the buy-in, which is their version of the pre-show, and we had the Casino Battle Royal. It was a women's Casino Battle Royal this time, but it was the stipulation that the winner will be able to be one of the challengers on the first episode of AEW's TV show to challenge for the AEW Women's title. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't watch most of this because I forgot that the thing started at 6. I thought it started at 7. So I was watching it on my phone at this football game I went to. It was the last part I caught. Like, I caught the final entrance, which ended up being Mercedes Martinez, and I kind of popped for that because I actually kind of messed with Mercedes Martinez when she was in the Mae Young Classic. She was going in. I thought WWE, might have would have signed her to NXT, but I guess not. Her going to AEW would be great as well, either or. But the winner ended up being Nyla Rose, winning this by eliminating both Brie Presley and Britt Baker and getting a response. I mean, I see what WWE is doing. With Nyla Rose, they're pushing her. They're pushing really different people because I thought, I thought, what's her face? Britt Baker was going to be the one to challenge for the title first, but it seems like they're building up different women. Then Brie Presley came out of nowhere, and now she's challenging for the title. It just seems like they have different options now, and that's something you don't really see in wrestling now, is options. It seems like we just go to wrestler A to wrestler B, or to wrestler C, and then it's just a repetitive. Then you go from wrestler A to B to C, the wrestler A to C. It's we getting something different with this, and I'm glad to see that they're doing different things. The next match we got on the pre-show was a tag team match between the newly signed tag team Private Party, Mark Queen and Isaiah Kennedy versus Jack Evans and Helico. This match was great as well. It was a great showing for Private Party more than Evans and Helico because we already know what they can do as a tag team. But when it came to Private Party, they really showed me because this was really my first introduction to them. I saw some of the stuff they did in that Fatal 4-Way tag team match at Fyter Fest. Great, have a great finisher and all that type of stuff. This match was great. I'm not gonna go move by move because this is another match I was like half watching while watching the football game, which is why I had to watch the entire pay-per-view over again so I can make sure I got everything correct. But all I can say is that Private Party is very impressive. Their finisher, entitled Gin and Juice, which is where Mark Queen hits a Hurricanrana off the top rope and it lands into Isaiah Kennedy hitting a cutter for the 1-2-3. Actually, it's a pretty good move, and I can't wait to see Private Party versus the Young Bucks on the AEW TV show in a couple weeks. That's gonna be a fire match. That's gonna be a fire match. So eventually, we open up the show with the first official match. You can say we had SCU versus the Luchasaurus, Marco Stunt, and Jungle Boy. Great opening match. It was great. We started off with Marco Stunt and Jungle Boy just doing a bunch of tag moves, and they were basically taking advantage and hitting a bunch of stuff. And then eventually, SCU got a hold of it was Jungle Boy. They got a hold of Jungle Boy, started doing flurry. A lot of offense on them. Eventually, Luchasaurus got the hot tag in, and he started doing cruiserweight stuff, and he's like a huge guy. It was one spot where he just kicked, like he was literally kicking people. He held one member's hand while he was kicking somebody else's face off, and then did a moonsault, and it was really dope. Then we get towards the end of the match, where it was just dive after dive. Eventually, was it Kazarian hit a Hurricanrana from the top rope to the outside onto Luchasaurus, and he speared Marco Stunt and Jungle Boy, and the Scorpio Sky did a Tope con Hilo onto Luchasaurus, and then they brought, who did they bring back into the ring? I think it was Jungle Boy, if I'm not correct. Was it Jungle Boy? No. Oh shit, they did it on Luchasaurus. No, they did it on both Marco Stunt and Jungle Boy. They hit a double Meltzer driver, or best Meltzer driver ever, for the win. After that, they shook hands, and it was a great opener. It was good. I enjoyed the match for what it was. It was a good way to get the show started. Then eventually we got a match that I thought was going to happen later down the card, but it actually happened now, and that is Pac versus Kenny Omega. Originally supposed to be Jon Moxley, formerly known as Dean Ambrose, versus Kenny Omega, but unfortunately Jon Moxley recently had a real life injury with his elbow again. I think it's called MRSA or something. I know nothing about it. I think it's like an infection in his elbow that's not allowing him to compete. But they said it shouldn't last that long, so he should be back by the time the TV show takes off. So that's great. We get to the match itself, and it was, we were blessed with a great match. It started off with both Kenny Omega and Pac really just going back and forth with moves, like how a lot of matches start, and then it gets the standing ovation when they look at each other. The match didn't really pick up until Kenny Omega tried to go for an outside dive when Pac hit Kenny Omega with a clean kick to the chest, and you could hear it all around the arena. After that, Pac just started to toss Kenny Omega all around the ring, gets him back in the ring, starts to kick and just punish Kenny Omega until eventually Kenny Omega switches the momentum, hits a couple moves on Pac, eventually sets up for the his signature tope con hilo, hits the barricade because the barricades are so close to the ring for some odd reason, brings him back into the ring. Omega eventually goes for his signature rolling senton into a backflip, but Pac reverses it. Then eventually Pac hits a backflip to the outside, and then hits a 450 for a near fall. Then eventually Kenny Omega does more crazy stuff where he set up, hit the V trigger. Then it looks like he was about to set up for the One Wing Angel. Pac tried to get out of it. So instead, Kenny Omega decides, while he has Pac on his shoulders, to just I don't know how to explain it. It's like a fireman's carry's German suplex. He hits that for a near fall. Pac eventually kicks out of it. We get later towards the match. They just start trading offense again. There was one part in the match I don't know if this was intentional or not, but there was a part where Pac just like does a pose in the ring and Omega just loses it and starts to go after Pac. But I think I maybe I'm just reaching, but it seemed like it was a pose Jon Moxley did at the end of Double or Nothing, and Pac did it, and I guess that reminded Omega of Moxley, and he just went in and started to hit a flurry of just like strikes and whatnot. So then eventually Neville hits a catch release suplex for a near fall. Then we get to a part again where they trade in strikes, and then literally out of nowhere, Kenny Omega hits a V trigger out of literally nowhere. Then he tries to set up for the what was it, the One Wing Angel, but Pac ended up reversing it into some type of submission. It was like where he had Omega's arms and legs trapped, and Omega passed out, and he lost. And that making Omega, well, I wouldn't even say that makes him 0 and 2. That would make him 1 and 2, right? Because he beat Cima. But now it seems like they're doing what I thought they were going to do with Kenny Omega. They're just going to have him lose big matches so that you can have him redeem himself and eventually chase after Chris. Oh, shit, damn. Well, I kind of spoiled it, but you should know by now. Have him chase after Chris Jericho for the AEW title as their third rubber match or whatever, because, Omega lost. He lost at Double or Nothing. He lost now. And it seems like he's doubting himself. And it seems like we're at the point of his, I guess you could say, story arc where he's, has to go through a redemption phase. So this should be interesting to watch. Great match. Really great match. After that, we got a triple threat match. It was called the Cracker Barrel Clash between Darby Allin, Joey Janela, and Jimmy Havoc. Good match. It was intense. I can tell you that. I'm not gonna go move for move. I'm just gonna talk about the stuff that just made me go like, what the, just made me lose it. At the beginning of the match, Jimmy Havoc literally stapled himself and said, "Come on," and then they ended up jumping. Allin and Joey Janela ended up jumping Jimmy Havoc. They taped him to a chair. They put thumbtacks in his mouth, and then they taped his mouth shut. And then did they super kick him? Yeah, they super kicked him or something. No, they didn't super kick him. They left him there. and then Darby Allin and Joey Janela started to go at it. Eventually, it led to what happened? I'm trying to remember. Was it Darby Allin and Joey Janela that dived onto Jimmy Havoc while he was in the chair? Another crazy spot in the match was Joey Janela hitting essentially a flip power driver through a table onto Darby Allin. There's another spot where Darby Allin took one of the Cracker Barrel barrels and he tried to do his casket dive spot and he completely missed whoever was intended. I think it was Jimmy Havoc, and he literally crashed and burned onto the stairs. So RP him. Joey Janela tried to commit suicide because he tried to go for a dive and he completely missed anything and he just hit the floor splat. That was insane. I don't know why wrestlers intend to kill each other. We get towards the end of the match. There's another Cracker Barrel that gets introduced. Jimmy Havoc. What did he do to? He did. Let me remember what he did to be exact. Yeah. Okay. He hit. Jimmy Havoc hits a suplex on what's his face? Joey Janela on the barrel, and then eventually hits the Acid Rainmaker to finish the barrel off, and then he won the match. It was a pretty interesting match. Definitely should go watch it. Oh, how could I forget? There was one spot that Darby Allin did where he had a thumbtack skateboard, and this man did an ollie off the top rope and landed directly onto Joey Janela's back with thumbtacks on his back. That was a dope spot. I have to mention that. That was great. After that, we got a tag team match between the Best Friends and the Dark Order. I mean, if you want me to be honest, you couldn't pay me enough money to care about this match. The stipulation of this match is that the winner of this match receives a first round bye in the AEW World Tag Team Championship Tournament, which essentially would just be a first round match, wouldn't it? Anyways, didn't really care for it. I could just tell you that the Dark Order eventually won with their finisher. There was one move in this match that actually shocked me, and it was from Chuck Taylor, who I'm not a fan of at all. It's called the Awful Waffle, where he basically just took Stu Grayson into a back suplex and flipped it into a pile driver. I thought that was pretty cool. Then eventually the Dark Order hit their finisher. I guess it's called the Fatality. They cover it 1, 2, 3. After the match, they jump the Best Friends, and then eventually lights go out. Lights come back on, and my boy Orange Cassidy, freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy, pulls up in the ring, gets a loud reaction, hands in his pockets. My man does a suicide dive with his hands in the pockets, gets back into the ring, does the pose. The Best Friends hug him. They do the Rainmaker zoom out when they do the hug, so that's interesting. Overall, the best part of the match was Orange Cassidy pulling up. The next match we got was Rio versus Hikaru Shida, who actually I just seen for the very first time, which is kind of hot. Anyways, the match, there's also a stipulation with this match, and that the winner receives a shot at the AEW Women's World Title on the first episode against Nyla Rose. This match started off very hot as Shida would just start to wail on Rio with all types of back breakers, the single leg Boston Crab. Eventually, the momentum picked up when Rio just hit a bunch of diving foot stomps. She hit one on the apron, one in the ring. She caught Shida with one. Let's see. There's a bunch of just back and forth between the two, and then the match officially ended with Rio countering into a pin and hitting her with a roll-up pin, and she won. After the match, there was a very intense stare down between Rio and Nyla Rose. It was a great match, by the way. An intense stare down between Rio and Nyla Rose, and they just looked at each other like they were ready for action, especially Nyla Rose. She looked like she was ready to eat that woman. I'm not saying that because she's a big woman. I'm just saying she's ready to kill her. And Rio just looked like she's ready for the action. She's ready for the smoke. She wants the smoke. And they also showed the AEW Women's World Title. It kind of looks like the TNA Knockouts Championship, but just a better version of it, so I can't complain about it too much. It could have been worse. It could just have a giant W in the middle. Anyways, the next match we end up getting, Cody Rhodes versus Shawn Spears. Probably one of the only matches on here that has a deep backstory. It goes even deeper, than Cody and Shawn Spears, now with Tully Blanchard being Shawn Spears, formerly known as Ty Dillinger's manager. So basically, how this whole thing went was that Shawn Spears, he left WWE. He shows up in AEW. He goes way back with Cody Rhodes, like they were training in OVW together. Because Shawn Spears has been in WWE before. He was Stan, the one that got super kicked by Shawn Michaels. So they have always been friends. And I guess Cody Rhodes eventually signed him, and he said, "Oh, Shawn Spears could be a player coach, eventually be a player. He's a good hand." And I guess that didn't resonate well with Shawn Spears. So at AEW Fyter Fest, pretty sure everybody knows by now, the chair shot heard around the world, where Shawn Spears takes the chair and just wails Cody Rhodes. And he didn't even hit him with like the part of the chair you're supposed to hit him with. He hits him with the top part of the chair, and it cuts the back of Cody Rhodes' head open, and he's just pools of blood coming out the back of his head. It was terrible. Actually, I believe it. They banned chair shots because of that now, like to the head in AEW, which is great because we do not need that shit in wrestling. That's the reason why people have done terrible things, and that's where all these terrible concussion shit is came from. It's these fucking chair shots to the head. I'm glad AEW is not doing that. Anyways, we get to the match itself. Shawn Spears comes out sitting in a chair. Eventually, his music drops. He gets a loud pop of boos. Eventually, Tully Blanchard follows him to the ring. Cody Rhodes comes out. He has a Star Trek gimmick entrance where Brandy was dressed up as the 7 of 9. I'm not a Star Trek guy. I've always been a Star Wars, so I'm not even going to know what that means. Then eventually, she's walking with their dog Pharaoh, DDP, and MJF. They walk to the ring. Fireworks go off. Soon as Cody Rhodes gets into the ring, hits a suicide dive onto Shawn Spears. They fight into the crowd. Eventually, they get to the ring. The bell starts. And eventually it just turns into Cody trying to do stuff. But then eventually Shawn Spears reverses everything. Tully Blanchard would get involved at one point. There's a part where Cody Rhodes hits a figure 4 leg lock, but eventually Shawn Spears reverses it quickly and reverses it where they're laying on their stomach. And then the pressure is on Cody Rhodes. And then once again, Tully Blanchard gets involved. There was a spot where Cody Rhodes wrestles with a weight belt on. So Shawn Spears took his weight belt and was about to whip him with it, but Earl Hebner took it away from him. And then eventually Tully Blanchard gave Shawn Spears his belt, and he started beating Cody Rhodes. But for some odd reason, it just gave Cody Rhodes magical powers to Hulk up, and he started hitting offense on Shawn. He started hitting tons of offense. Eventually leads to a crossroads for a near fall, but Tully Blanchard once again gets involved. Then there's a spot in the match where Blanchard and MJF go at it, and they fight each other. And eventually, Shawn Spears takes out MJF, and then they just start fighting on the outside. We get back into the match. Ty Dillinger hits a DDT on the apron. Was it a DDT on the apron? I think so. And eventually, he grabs a chair. He's about to use the chair because that's the whole story behind this match. And then out of nowhere, Arn Anderson pulls up. Yes, Mr. Arn Anderson, who recently got fired from WWE, pulls up, hits a spine buster onto Shawn Spears for a huge pop. Eventually, Cody Rhodes uses the chair. He was going to hit Shawn Spears with the chair, but instead he threw it to him. Cody Rhodes hits the disaster kick, and then that transitions into a crossroads. 1, 2, 3, he wins the match. And there's also a spot where he did the bionic elbow as a tribute to his father. That was pretty cool. So Cody Rhodes wins the match, as I thought he should have. I would have to say this is Shawn Spears or Ty Dillinger's best match since I don't know when. Because, he's always been somebody that's like, oh, he's cool, but he's not a main eventer. And I still don't think he's a main eventer here. I just think he's a great mid-card guy. Not everybody in AEW can be a main eventer. Plus, trust me, when I talk about the main event of this match, I'm going to tell you why certain people shouldn't be in the main event. But yeah, it was probably his best match. It was a really good match. My question is, why wasn't Goldust or Dustin Rhodes here with the Nightmare family and whatnot? But anyways, they celebrate, move on. We get to the second to last match on the card. We got the Escalera de la Muerta match for the AAW for the AAA, the AAA tag team titles. It's a ladder match between Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix, aka the Lucha Bros, versus the Young Bucks, who have really been having a blood feud essentially in AEW. And this is, I guess, the final hurrah for their match. And I'm not even going to go move for move in this match either. I'm just going to talk about the stuff in the match that just made me go, what the, whoa. Like I did in the previous match. There was one spot in the match where each of the brothers were like on the apron, and then each of the other brothers speared the enemy's brothers through tables for which was pretty cool. Another spot in the match. Damn, where do I start? It's so much in this match. It was so much in this match. There was another point. Damn, there's a lot in this match. I really got to sit up here and oh yeah, there was another spot in the match where Rey Fenix does his little thing where he tight ropes on the ropes and eventually uses it to launch himself onto the ladder to jump off the ladder into a hurricanrana. That was pretty cool. There's another point in the match where the Bucks, what did the Bucks do? Let me see. I'm on Wrestling Inc. right now trying to like, you know, regain everything that happened because there's a lot of stuff in here and I don't want to miss the details. There was this point in the match where both men are just essentially killing each other. We get to a spot in the match where there was a, I guess you would say a not code red, what is it? A Canadian destroyer from the top of the ladder from, I believe was it Matt Jackson? It was either Matt or Nick Jackson. I get them confused. And basically they put Pentagon through a table by doing a flip pile driver. I'm just calling it flip pile driver off the ladder through a table. That got a holy shit chant, I believe. Another spot in the match where they both start to fight, and we get towards the end of the match where they climb up the ladder. And I believe was it Matt Jackson or Nick Jackson that basically just died. My man's died, okay? He got pushed off the ladder, but his leg got caught on the top rope, so he went face first into a table, and I was like, Jesus Christ. Y'all really just trying to kill each other. We get to another point in the match where they're on top of the ladder. Okay, it was Nick Jackson that got fucked up through the table. So eventually Pentagon and Matt Jackson are fighting on the ladder. They take the mask off of Pentagon and Pentagon falls off to cover his face. So then Phoenix is essentially trying to fight back. They fight, and then eventually we get to the end of the match where the brothers hit the Zero Fear, which is a package pile driver into Phoenix, essentially stomping the opponent, and they do it onto the ladder. Then they climb the ladder, and then Phoenix. Oh wow! Pentagon and Phoenix retained the AAA tag titles, and it was a pretty good match. A lot of holy shit chants, just a lot of I don't know, bro. They just tried to kill each other, and I can appreciate that in a ladder match because Lord knows we need ladder matches that are actually, you know, lit and not just, you know, simple. Because I can't remember the last ladder match. I'll take that back because that NXT one from New Orleans was actually really good. After that, we get to a point in the match where these two mysterious masked men attack the Lucha Bros, take them off of the ladder. Then Nick Jackson gets back into the ring. He tries to fight them off, and then eventually they hit their finisher. When they take the mask off, it's your boys, LAX. They officially signed with AEW. They left Impact Wrestling. They're with AEW, and I'm glad they signed with them and not WWE because, like we just saw on Monday Night Raw, that tag team turmoil match where a team they literally made up the night of the show won and defeated almost all the tag teams in WWE. So I'm glad that LAX signed with AEW because AEW needs a strong tag team division if they, you know, want to make their tag team division strong. If that makes any sense, what I just said. And they have good tag teams. They got Private Party, the Young Bucks, LAX now, the Lucha Bros, Angelico and Jack Evans, and whoever else they signed next, I guess. They attacked them. LAX is with them because we know if LAX signed with WWE, their best years will be at NXT, and then as soon as they get called to the main roster, they're just a bunch of nobodies. And they probably will be restricted, and they won't be able to do what they do. So then after that, we get to the last match of the pay-per-view, which was for the AEW World Championship. Chris Jericho, Hangman Adam Page, main event match. My final thoughts about this match: It's not a great match. It's a good match. It's not a bad match at all. I think this match really I don't know, bro. I think this match really emphasized that Hangman Page isn't a main eventer. I don't know, maybe just because he's friends with the elite guys that they did this for him. He's not a main eventer. I don't know what it is. There was a match he had at, I think, Fight for the Fallen, where he had a match with Kip Sabian, and it was supposed to, I guess, show. I don't know what the purpose of that match was, but it did not help him at all, because if he's supposed to be your guy that you're trying to show off to be a main eventer, he cannot have a competitive 30-minute match with essentially a nobody that hasn't even been established on TV yet or on pay-per-view at all. It's just a nobody, essentially. So the match was good, though. It started off with Hangman Page trying to, take over Jericho, but eventually Jericho gets advantage, does a bunch of offense. The momentum didn't really pick up until Adam Page hit like a discus clothesline. No, like a discus punch, I should say, really. And then busted Jericho open hard way, and he was bleeding. And the bleeding got worse. It was like above the eye. And I guess you could kind of say that's a story in the match, because I believe, I forgot which pay-per-view it was. It was either Fight for the Fallen or Fyter Fest, where Jericho got involved and he made Adam Page's eye bleed. So I guess it was, trade for trade, you could say. And then eventually Adam Page started to hit moves, hit the buckshot lariat into a what move was it? He tried to go for the last shot, but Jericho reversed into the walls of Jericho, but eventually got out of it. Hangman Page hits a moonsault to the outside. He brings Jericho back into the ring. He tries to go for another buckshot lariat in the match. Eventually, Jericho hits him with a code breaker for a near fall. I thought that was pretty cool. And then eventually, it led to Page just starting to hit more of his elbow strikes. He tries to go for another Deadeye, but somehow Jericho reverses it, backslides, and he hits his Judas effect, which is a spinning back elbow, and he catches him out of nowhere. 1, 2, 3. Jericho is your brand new AEW World Heavyweight Champion. Right decision. And I see a lot of people on Twitter, of course I do, on Twitter complaining that, ooh, Jericho's 48 years old. Why is the old guy the champion? Y'all, yeah. Anyways, listen. Jericho being world champion is probably the smartest decision they could do right now, because Jericho has great name value. He's at the point in his career where everybody knows Jericho. Casual fans, hardcore fans know Chris Jericho. And you are trying to establish a brand new wrestling company. You cannot do that with Adam Page as your world champion. Nobody's going to know who the fuck he is. And then when he shows up on TV and the ratings aren't good because you want to put your company behind somebody that nobody knows, boo-hoo. You got Jericho as champion. People are going to go in and be like, oh, that's Jericho. I remember watching him in WWE. Oh, he's with them now? Oh, let me see, what they can do with Jericho over here. And, oh, wait, Kenny Omega. Who is this guy? Oh, Pac. Who is this guy? I remember him in WWE. It opens up more eyes to AEW. It's the smartest thing they could do. You give it to Adam Page, it's going to do nothing for the company. It damn near might as well hurt the company. So, anyways, Jericho being champion is great, and for the people saying that they're doing the same thing WWE does, WWE doesn't even need to use old people anymore. They're an established wrestling company. What WWE needs to do is they need to build their younger talent so that they reach the status of their old talent that they have now. That's the difference. Like Brock Lesnar winning Money in the Bank, granted it was funny, it's still fucking stupid, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, AEW delivered a great show. I just had to get my thoughts about that because it was on my mind heavy. But yeah, AEW review. It's recorded finally. I'm not even going to be done because right after this, while I'm editing this, I got to catch up and watch certain matches from TakeOver Cardiff so I can fully get everything. Because I saw the last 2 matches, great matches. I just got to, watch everything else, in its entirety. So yeah, this is it. This will be more stuff to come tonight, so you'll probably get 2 videos tonight. Like, comment, favorite, subscribe. Just do to support me. Follow me on all my social media links down in the description below. Anyway, guys, I'm out. Peace.